We have to address some of the food excuses that is barring you from full recovery from an eating disorder. Hello, my name is Stephanie. I'm a therapist on Long Island, New York that specializes in the treatment of eating disorders and body image issues. If you're interested in learning more about any of those or just general mental health and well being, please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button down below. Okay, so before I fully get on into this video, we need to start talking about nutrition. As it pertains to eating disorder recovery, most typically you'll be working with an eating disorder nutritionist who will work with you on developing a meal plan, which is really a structured idea of what you should be eating every single day, especially early on in recovery. The importance of the meal plan is that, especially after having an eating disorder or amidst recovery from an eating disorder, well, honestly and bluntly, your body is a little messed up. It's not getting the cues that it really should be getting in the proper way. The meal plan that the nutritionist will give you will help you to reset your body to get the cues back so that you are fully in tune with your body again. It takes a little bit of time, or a lot of time rather, but to get you back into the cues that your body is sending you, to recognize them and respond to that, including hunger and fullness. Another reason why a nutritionist will give you a meal plan is because it's something concrete that you can follow, because it really makes it harder for your eating disorder to logically be able to object to what a nutritionist is telling you to eat, because any excuses that is given is going to be a matter of your eating disorder. And when you are able to follow a meal plan, it makes it a little bit trickier for your eating disorder to trick you into, cutting this portion size down a little bit, or just swapping out this food that is in your meal plan for a food that has lesser calories. It makes it a little bit more difficult for your eating disorder to do that. Not impossible, but that's really where the work of the nutritionist that works with eating disorders can help you with, as well as an eating disorder therapist, which is what I do, and really addressing the excuses and the behaviors associated around the meal plan and the food is a big part of my job as well. One thing that I want to address is that there really is no excuse for not following your meal plan. If you have a meal plan, everything's outlined for you very concrete, and if there is anything that's getting in the way, most of the time it really is an excuse on behalf of your eating disorder. So one of the main excuses I hear a lot, is I don't have time. Now, that doesn't really hold much anything to me, because realistically we all have time to eat, because it's something that we biologically have to do, so you can make time. One is, it's really important to value yourself enough to make the time to eat the proper meals and the proper snacks that you're supposed to be eating. It's important that you value yourself enough to set aside that time as time to eat. Let's just say that you are a really busy bee and you really have very minimal time. Again, no excuse not to get the proper nutrition. Of course, while ideally it's best to sit down, and you should value yourself enough to somehow figure out the time to sit down and actually enjoy and eat a meal. If you can't do that, there's absolutely no excuses for not having food and nourishment at any time that you need. I'm sure that if you're sitting in on a meeting, you could probably eat or get some nutrition in. If you are at school, I'm sure that your teacher will understand if you need to eat and get some nutrition in. If you're driving, I'm sure that you can eat and get some nutrition in then as well. Along those lines, another excuse that I hear is that you just had to run out of the house and you didn't have time to grab your food or grab your breakfast. Again, it doesn't really hold much merit, because there is food access everywhere. We constantly have food access, or access to food, especially here in America and in pretty much any first world country. There is constant access to food. So if you ran out and genuinely forgot everything, or your eating disorder just happened to forget your food, you have the access to get the proper nutrition somewhere around you. So that is something that is an excuse on behalf of your eating disorder. Now, I'm not saying that you really aren't busy, or that you forget when you run out of the door to grab some snacks or whatever it is, but we need to understand ourselves and know ourselves enough that if that is something that happens often, that you need to be prepared. So how do you prepare for that? You can bring snacks and constantly have them sitting in your bag, so that if you do forget, you have access to food right on your person. If you're always taking your purse with you, throw some things in your purse that can at least tie you over. And I understand that in real life, once you get into full recovery, or if you never had an eating disorder, that you sometimes can miss something, and sometimes you miss a meal, or sometimes you overeat, sometimes you undereat. Things happen, and that's okay. But that's something that we really need to avoid as much as possible, especially early on in recovery. If you have a meal plan, especially, you really need to make sure that you're doing as much as you can to follow that. Even if you're busy, we make time for the things that we value. If you can find time to sit even for 5 minutes on social media, you have time to sit with yourself and actually eat a meal. It's really just a matter of your willingness to do so and to value yourself enough to be willing to make the time to just sit down and eat a meal and nourish yourself. Another thing that I want to say is that sometimes it's really difficult to recognize that these are excuses. They could really seem like these are really what's a barrier for your recovery to your healthy self. But that's why you really should be having an eating disorder therapist on your team, on your treatment team, and be seeing that person weekly, because that therapist can point out and confront the eating disorder, because it gets really difficult sometimes to discern our eating disorder from our healthy self. But when you have a specialist who is helping to treat you on board, they're able to point out those excuses and confront your eating disorder and appeal to your healthy self and your logical self, and really just get down to business and working toward your recovery and getting rid of all the extra stuff that's just getting in the way and becoming barriers to your recovery. Please like this video by clicking the thumbs up button if you found it helpful. Also, I have a blog. I talk about all this type of stuff. I will leave that link in the description below. And I give you one-time permission to hit my face on this corner, I believe, to subscribe to my channel. And I wish you enough value in yourself for your recovery on your journey to finding your state of balance. Have a great one.